Shalom, shalom, family. What's going on? Shalom to everybody out there. Hope y'all are having a blessed and wonderful day. I myself, am excited about this week. This week is High Ground Ministries of the World Holy Convocation. And so I'm excited to be a part of that with our leader, Apostle Keith K. Curry, and to all the bishops, Bishop Lott, and everybody. I'm excited about the convocation. Tonight is they have an old school church night, which is like tambourines and washboards and things like that. And then tomorrow will be the first class that will kick off. On tomorrow, I'll be teaching biblical Black history, the Israelite awakening. And so I'll be teaching heritage on tomorrow to many within the convocation. Many of the first times is hearing about Israelite heritage. And so that's going to be awesome. That's going to be an awesome thing. I pray that the Father is glorified and the people receive the wisdom. One thing about it, we have to understand that it's none of our job to force anyone. We don't have that power to change anybody, but it's our job to plant the seed. And we pray that the Father will either use us or send someone to water it. And I don't have to be around to see the manifestation of one being changed, as long as the Father writes their name in the book and is pleased with me and the journey and my assignment. So shalom to everybody out there. What's going on with you? Shalom to you all. Keep me in your prayers. Keep everyone in your prayers, the whole HGMW family and everyone. Keep everyone in your prayers, including yourself. Hey, shalom to everyone. Thank you, God, for tuning in. I see a lot of people were loved the video on yesterday that we done. But today I want to talk about new territory. All right, I want to talk about new territory and get some understanding to brothers and sisters regarding new territory. All right. New territory. Many people have to understand that your heart, it starts with your heart. It starts with your heart. All right. It starts with the heart. So I'm just sending out a couple posts or whatnot. So shalom, shalom. I know everybody's tuning in. Some people on lunch break, some people at work sneaking and listening, some people are driving and all these different things. So I'm gonna give brothers and sisters a chance to jump in here. Again, if you're just not tuning in, shalom to you all, brothers and sisters. Where you checking in from? Let's do a check-in. Put where you at. Where you at? Where you at? What city are you in? All right, check in. Shalom. What city are you in? What's going on? To the family. Shalom, everybody. Where you at? Let's see where you at. Let's do a check-in. Before we get into this lesson, we're gonna do a check-in real quick. See where everybody's at, what city they in, and we'll get into the lesson. I'm not going to be before you long because I'm getting ready for tonight and for this weekend. And so, shalom, shalom, shalom. Check in. What city? What city? Drop some cities, man. Drop some cities. Let's see where everybody is. Hey, if you're driving, don't be dropping no city now if you're driving, all right? Don't be dropping nothing if you're driving. All right? So All right, all right. Houston, Texas. Tony Robinson, you ain't in no Tennessee. You drive. You ain't from no Tennessee. You drive from Tennessee. Houston, Texas. What's going on? Houston in the house. Houston. I hope you guys are attending Rebirth Houston. I hope you guys are attending Rebirth Houston, our sister congregation, which is Rebirth of a Nation. All right. Hope you're attending. Chris Robinson, what's going on, man? We'll definitely be praying for you. You in Germany. Oh, that's what's up, man. York, PA, what's going on? Jameson, Brother Anthony, DJ Trust, the Israelite Hebrew. All right, what's going on? Jacksonville, Florida. Faith Music at ATL. Valley Grande. Where's Valley Grande? Is that, oh, I guess that's Alabama, I guess. I think that's somewhere in Alabama. Valley Grande, Sister Annie Berry. All right. Yeah, we're doing a check-in real quick, just seeing where everybody at, seeing where everybody's from. And Little Rock, Arkansas. All right, Little Rock, Arkansas. Home of our Razorbacks out there in Arkansas. All right, out there in Arkansas, Razorbacks. Shalom from Delaware. Shalom. Shalom. All right, my Rebirth family, what's going on with you? There's blessings. All right, see you tomorrow morning as well, Faith Music. Yes, sir. B.O.O.M, ATL, Faith Music. Lafayette, Indiana. What's going on, Sister Beverly? Shalom to you. Lafayette. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to get into this. I want to talk about new territory. It's amazing, man, that I'm just blown away at what the Most High is doing. I'm telling y'all, man, it's something that when you are obedient, it's something about the compassion and the spirit and the heart to do the will of the Father, that it seems as though, man, that he opened, well, it's not, it doesn't seem, he opens doors, man, for his glory, because he trusts you to send you places. And the thing is that it's nothing that you have to do. It's nothing that you have to do in the sense of, you don't have to call nobody. You don't have to ask nobody. You don't have to do any of these things. But it's like he develops you before you come into this truth for where you're going. He's already mapped out your path, your assignment. And then he starts developing you from that point. And developing you. So all of these things, hey, Judah Culture, Shalom, what's going on, sis? What's that? Got the light on the phone. Who's that? Tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow, yeah.
Okay.
You could do it there.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do it there. That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Shalom to everybody that's tuning in. But it's that he equips you. And not only does he develop you, he develops you for where you're going. And every experience throughout that process. Hey, what's going on, Sister Tiffany, Central Louisiana? Hey, what's going on? Throughout that process, every experience is to prepare you and develop you for your final mission, your purpose, your assignment. And so everything is to be taken into account, how you were brought up. This is why it's important for you to understand that everybody must understand that everyone has a different path, but the same mission. Your path may not be my path. In the direction in where I'm going, in the assignment that I'm called to, that you weren't trained, you weren't developed, your life experiences, how you were brought up, none of these things you experienced that I experienced. So you can't walk in the assignment that I'm called to if you haven't been developed that way, if you haven't been trained to deal with that, if you haven't gone through those life experiences that I've gone through, and vice versa. I can't expect to tell you to do it the way I do it if I know that your experience is not mine. It's the same thing when we see with Paul and we see with Peter. We see that both of them were brought up differently. One was brought up as a fisherman. The other one was trained in the schools of the Pharisees. Two different walks of life. One would be more of a collegiate Ivy League student, and the other one would be your common worker, someone who may have worked on just a normal job, or may have worked as some type of skilled worker working on a fishing boat out there, the deadliest catch, out there in those type of elements. Who this was a family thing that was passed down. Your father was a fisherman. And so he brought you as a child on the boat at an early age, and you developed and took over the family business, where one father was a scientist or some form of genius in neurology, or some form of aspect, a doctor or some form of lawyer who attend Harvard University, and he trained you. He took you to Harvard when he was came out of Harvard. You met all of the people in his field and all of the other alumni that attended Harvard, and so your path is being laid out for you to attend an Ivy League school, preferably Harvard, but not if it can't be Harvard, then it's either Cornell or some school of that nature, or Yale or something like that. So you've been brought up differently than someone who's been brought up to fish. Now the thing is this: the Father has already chosen your assignment and your path. So therefore, it makes sense for Peter to reach the people that he reached. It makes sense for Paul to go to a people and be able to write a certain way, the way he writes. It makes sense for Paul to deal with certain people intellectually, okay, and dealing with all of these different things when it comes down to the law, and dealing with all of these false teachings and all of these different aspects of things, versus Peter didn't engage in those type of activities. Why? Because the Father already knew that Peter's assignment would not be Paul's assignment. And so here's the importance of the body, and how for the Father's ultimate glory to be glorified of himself, he chooses people and their paths. What happens is that people sometimes get to a point of want to covet and don't appreciate how they were brought up, don't appreciate the path that the Father has taken them throughout their course of life. But they view what seems to be the popular path, and therefore they begin to covet someone else's assignment. And so, beloved, it starts in my heart. It started in my heart that I had a spirit in me from the time I was a youngster. I always was the middle person that brought people together. There were times where brothers who I grew up with, we called each other brothers, Ernest and Tavares and Xavier and things of that nature. And we would do things. None of us were, we all went to church and stuff like that, but none of us, we weren't into, the Bible. As kids and teenagers, in high school, you're not really thinking about church, and you just go because your parents go and things of that nature. But we had this pact and this covenant that if one brother was upset with another brother, then they would always get with a brother to bring the brothers together. And oftentimes we would meet at the golf spot in the parking lot. We'll all park our cars facing each other, and we'll kind of stand in the middle or something like that. And then we just talked about the situation. So we was actually loving our brothers ourselves. It was a part of us and in us. We didn't need a schoolmaster or anything to give us the instructions to do that. That was something that we done. But as I look at it now, our paths were all different. But what made us such a tight crew that everybody was like, yo, that crew is the crew, that crew. I was the more athletic. So I was the one in sports and went to college and things like that. But they would come to the games. They would come to the games, and I was generally guarding the other team's star, or the other team's star would be guarding me. So it was always a duo between us back and forth. They would come to the games just to heckle the other guy. The other guy, oftentimes, every time I hit a shot on him, or every time I dunked on him, or every time I blocked a shot, or every time I did something like that, or crossed him over or something like that, they would heckle the star. He was so focused on them to where he couldn't even focus on his assignment. He could not focus on his assignment because he was too busy concerned about them. Every time something happened, he would talk back to them. They aren't even in the game. It didn't matter if we were at their gym or our gym. Ernest, Tavares, Zap, and all of them. So Zap was actually a band member. He was in the band. But he still made it way. Tavares and them, they would heckle this person. They would find out from me who the other team's star was, and they would heckle him. That was their assignment. Meanwhile, I'm giving them the business. He couldn't focus on his assignment, which was because all of us had a scouting report. He couldn't focus on his assignment, which was me, because he's too busy focusing on them who aren't even in the game. You cannot advance into new territories if you can't focus on your own assignment. There cannot be a new territory carved out for you, or you can't walk in what you were called to be if you're too busy focusing on someone else and not your assignment. Peter said, hey, I'm called to the Jews. I'm focused on my assignment. I'm called to them. That doesn't mean I'm limited to them, but my main assignment and my calling is to the Jews or to the Israelites. Paul says, hey, I'm the apostle to the Gentiles. My main assignment, though I'm not limited, but my main assignment, the place where I dwell, the place where I function, is to the Gentiles. That's where I function. That's where I reside. I don't visit there, I reside there. Now, to the Jews or to the Israelites, Paul visited, but he resided in the lane of reaching the Gentiles. You cannot walk into new territory, because here's the thing. There's always work. The Father's goal, his dream, is that all believe. But he can't take you higher to these next levels if you haven't first on this level focused on your assignment amongst your family? If you don't have a good track record amongst your family, or you haven't even reached them, you haven't even reached one of them, but yet you're trying to reach the people in your city, you haven't passed reaching the people in your city, let alone trying to reach people in a county or a region or a district. But oftentimes I see a lot of people, they don't even have the courage to win, or the abilities, or the development. They haven't developed actually developing in actually functioning in winning their own family, but yet they're trying to be a winner of the nations. It doesn't work that way. Let me give you an example. The first time before Christ took, or Hamashiach took, his apostle, or his disciples, his Talmudim, before he took them outside anywhere into a new territory, he took them to their city first. He said, okay, let's go to your city. And let's see how you handle things in your city amongst people that you're familiar with. If you're scared to reach them, and then not only that, it's not even so much being scared to reach them. You don't even know how to. You can be bold and not equipped. You can be bold all you want. Boldness don't win nobody. Being equipped. See, what we have to understand is we have to learn to study the ultimate evangelist. Many people don't even know how to reach people. You think shouting at them, you think throwing scripture at them, you think that's what win people. Hamashiach won the woman at the well by not calling out a scripture. Oh, I know I just hurt some of your feelings. I know I just messed with your theology and your doctrine. He didn't do that. Hamashiach didn't win Zacchaeus, the boy in the tree, by quoting the scripture. The boy climbed up in the tree, as he passed by, he didn't win him like that. We haven't been equipped. We got zeal. We got boldness. We have nothing to. I can lay all the tools out. It's like laying puzzles out to someone with no manual and asking them to put this together. We got all the puzzles. We got all the pieces. We don't have no manual. We got all the puzzles. We got the zeal, the boldness, zero manual. I'm getting ready to actually, and I hadn't even told our congregation this, but I'm about to do this. I'm about to ask them soon, and some of them are on here so they can get a head start, to put together a full page on Hamashiach, the evangelist. I'm going to have them to, because I'm now about to get ready to teach them through the Spirit of how to evangelize, of how to reach their family members, how to reach their friends without compromise. without compromise. And so that's what I'm about to be. I'm about to do that pretty soon. Just one page. Just a one-page paper. I'm going to give them the subject, and I'm going to tell them to go. Write it. Which I just gave them the subject. Let's look at Romans chapter number 15. Romans chapter number 15. When you have Romans chapter number 15, put some sevens up. And I want to look at something. And I want to show you that there's something very important here that Paul says about new territory. Okay. Romans chapter number 15. All right, Romans chapter number 15. And we're going to start at verse number 15. I know it probably has a delay to it. Romans 15 and verse number 15. All right. Romans 15 and 15. And we're going to start reading. Nevertheless, brethren, I have written the more boldly unto you in some sort, as putting you in mind. Now listen to this. Again, this is very important to understand that Paul is responding to letters written to him. The book of Romans is a letter written to those who were in leadership, who were dealing with certain issues within the congregations of Rome. The unfortunate part is that we don't have those letters written to him, which would give us a whole nother understanding and would keep us from misinterpretation of Paul's letters. If we had those letters, there wouldn't be any fighting about stuff, because we would have a thorough understanding of what he's dealing with. So it takes the Spirit to really be able to comb through these letters. Romans 15 and verse number 15. I'm reading it slow because I want us to grab this. Nevertheless, brethren, I have written the more boldly unto you in some sort, as putting you in mind. So Paul said, I'm thinking about your situation. Because of the grace that is given to me by Yah, that I should be the minister of Yeshua HaMashiach, or Jesus the Christ, to the Gentiles, ministering the gospel of Yah, that the offering up of the Gentiles might be acceptable, being sanctified by the Ruach HaKodesh. See that? Being sanctified by the Spirit. Why is Paul addressing this? Why is Paul pointing this out? The reason he's pointing this out is because there's the only way to be sanctified is by the Holy Spirit. That's the only way, not the letter. Even though he's not speaking against the letter. But you have to understand what's going on in Rome at this time. You still had people who were Judaizers, or people who didn't believe that HaMashiach or Christ was the Savior, and that they were still trying to get them to sacrifice animals. They were still trying to get them to understand that only the law itself saves. And so he doesn't have to talk to them about that. He's trying to get them to understand the things of the Spirit and what brings forth the sanctifying. Okay, let's read verse number 17 of Romans 15, if you're just not joining. I have therefore, wherever I may glory through Yeshua HaMashiach, in those things which pertain to Yah. For I will not dare to speak of any of those things which HaMashiach hath not wrought by me. He says, I will not dare talk to you about something outside of what you sent the letter to me regarding. I'm not going to give you something that's not going to help you, but I can't give you anything if HaMashiach doesn't give it to me. If the Holy Spirit doesn't give me something regarding your situation, I'm not going to respond to you in a letter until I hear from him. This is the point he's making. I am not going to write you a letter responding to your situation until he speaks to me, giving me counsel regarding your situation. Paul ain't pulling scriptures because their situation is a spiritual matter. It's dealing with the lack of the Spirit. And so he has to get them to understand those things I taught you spiritually. These are the things where you have to grow. These are the things and the areas in which you have to grow. And so he's not going to talk to them about anything outside of that. People are asking you situations about marriage or whatnot. There's some practical things that people need practical wisdom on. They need practical wisdom. But the first thing you want to do is give them something, and you're giving them medication, and you've diagnosed the situation incorrectly. Okay, verse number 18 of Romans 15. Look what it says. For I will not dare to speak of any of those things which Christ hath not wrought by me, to make the Gentiles obedient by word and deed. He says, I'm not going to teach you something or respond to you or give you anything, okay, to make the Gentiles obedient by words and deed. So basically, he's saying this. The issue that the Gentiles have is a spiritual matter. It's a spiritual matter. They're dealing with spiritual problems. Meaning this, they know what you taught them in the law. They know what the law says. You've been teaching them the law. Now it's a spiritual matter. It's no different than many of us who are mores, teachers, whatever you want to call us, leaders of congregations. You know the law inside out. All day we talk about the Torah. And this person keep doing it over and over again. You know that stealing is wrong. We showed it to you in the Torah in and out. You know that adultery is wrong. We showed it in the Torah inside and out. You know, all these things, bearing false witness, all these things are wrong in the Torah in and out, and you keep doing them. It's not a letter problem. It's a spiritual problem. And you can't go into no kind of territories or new territories until you get the spiritual problem rectified. Until you get it rectified. This is what Paul's saying. I'm not going to write you a letter telling you to teach them about the law. They know that. It's a spiritual problem, which means, how do you overcome that? When a person knows that what the law says, and they know what they shouldn't be doing, and they know how they should live, but they keep doing it over and over. Now you need intercessors. But the unfortunate thing is, y'all don't want to pray. You need worshipers, intercessors, and folks who gonna fast. for this person spiritual deficiency to be rectified. They done had all the scripture. You done gave them tons of scripture. They what the Bible said, and they keep doing it over and over. Now you got to stop talking to them and go start talking to your intercessors. Every congregation needs folks who is in them. They walk, they eat, they sleep, prayer. But y'all don't want to pray. Y'all don't want to pray. You need people that are gifted in that area. All of us should pray, but there's people that the Father just have assigned for that. And every congregation needs folks that want to pray and worship. And this is what Paul is saying. You done gave them all the letter and they still ain't changed. Now it's time to pray for them jokers. And I'm talking about bombard the kingdom of the Most High. Sometimes that may take not even having service, teaching. That may take just having service, just nothing but prayer on behalf of somebody else who is spiritually deficient or who's spiritually immature. That's a mature leader. One who the Spirit will give the proper diagnosis to give the person the proper medication. Let's keep reading. Look what it says. He says, which Christ have not wrought by me to make the Gentiles obedient by word and deed. Verse 19 of Romans 15. Through mighty signs and wonders, by the power of the Spirit of Yah. You see that? Look what it says. Absolutely, Moray Lavander. Listen to what it says. Verse number 19. He told you what verse 18 said. Verse 18 say deeds, and that ain't gonna get it with these people. That's not gonna get it for that type of person. That's not going to get it. And then he continues in verse 19. He says, let me tell you what I'm talking about. He said, it's through mighty signs and wonders. Only the Spirit of Yah does the signs and the wonders. So that means you need people who are prayer warriors. You need people who are spiritually mature and bombard the kingdom of Yah on behalf of a person who know the letter but keep continuing to do the same thing over and over. That's a person with a stronghold. Can't be no new territories for people with strongholds. We're not talking about sinful nature. That's two totally different things. Sinful nature and stronghold is two totally different things. Look what he says in verse number 19. He said, through mighty signs and wonders by the power of the Spirit of Yah, so that from Jerusalem and around about unto Illyricum, it says, I have fully preached the gospel. He said, I have fully preached. What do you mean fully? I've taught the law and the Spirit. I have fully. I ain't just teach no law, but I taught what the Spirit looks like, what the Spirit talks like, the characteristics of the Spirit. How does the Spirit act? I taught the fruits of the Spirit, not just the letter. That's the fullness of it. Because you're dealing with a people and he's dealing with a people, and he's dealing with a people that only taught a portion of it amongst the Gentiles. Now he has an assignment. His territory in Rome is to teach thee, because each letter that is sent to him is dealing with different issues. The Corinthians, they dealing with gift coveting. They want to covet everybody's gift. They despise their own, but they want somebody else's own because it seems like the more popular thing is going on. So they want that person. They don't appreciate anything when it comes down to, they are gifted people spiritually, but they got a problem with the letter. They gifted, but they coveted, meaning they got a problem with the letter. They don't have a problem spiritually. The people in Rome, they don't have a problem with the letter, but they got a problem spiritually. So when you have the wisdom of Yah, you don't approach everybody that have marriage problems with the same issue or the same diagnosis and the same treatment you gave to somebody else. It's a person-to-person basis. When you're dealing with people, okay, that have issues, you don't take the same thing, the same scriptures, the same approach with this couple or this person that you've talked with somebody else. Just because it worked with that person, this couple, that don't mean it's going to work over here. So the one who is the one who's being used to give wisdom have to make sure that they are fully connected with the Father, so that way they can receive wisdom spiritually, get a proper diagnosis by the Spirit, and give them a proper solution or a proper medication to help that. And I'm just using those terminologies because that's something that people understand. It's no different than going to a doctor. When the doctor, when each person that doctor visits, when he walks into the room, hey, tell me why you're here today. He don't come in and say, you know what, you was here 8 months ago, and so I'm gonna prescribe you the same prescription. Like, doc, I ain't dealing with that same issue. I got a whole nother problem I'm dealing with. They even have, even the practical world understand that. Even the practical world understand that. Look what he says here. Let's keep reading in Romans 15, in verse number 20. He said, yea, so have I strived to preach the gospel, not where Christ's name was named. I want y'all to hear this. He strived to preach the gospel everywhere. And his main focus was let me find a place where Christ ain't being preached. The fullness of him, law and spirit. Let me go wherever he's not being preached fully, that's where I want to go. And I don't care about the consequences of going. I'm going to find new territory and I'm going to deliver the gospel. But why? Because the harvest is plentiful. The laborers aren't few in our day, they lazy. The laborers aren't few. They just lazy. It's easy to be amongst a bunch of Hebrews that talk what you talk, believe what you believe. It's easy to do that. It's easy to be around a lot of Christians that believe what you believe and do what you do. The gospel is to the world and to the nations. So wherever Christ is not being preached, send me, I'll go. Father, you know where new territory is, where uncharted territory hasn't been. Hey, what's going on, Pastor Clarence? Can't wait to see you next month. You know where your name has not been declared. Send me. If I'm the only one, send me, I'll go. So Paul is saying, hey, listen, I'm not gonna just keep going around the same old folks. Ain't nothing wrong with being around y'all. I love y'all. I love seeing y'all. But my assignment is to preach this gospel. I got to go. I don't care if it's where the atheists at, where the Christians at, where the Muslims at. I don't care if it's where Jehovah's Witness. I don't care where it's at. If you open up a door, I'm going wherever you ain't been preached fully yet. And when I go, I'm going to preach, living holy, sanctified, keeping the law. I'm going to preach grace. I'm going to preach all of that, the fullness of him by the Spirit. I ain't going in there fussing with you, cussing at you, telling you what you ain't doing. No, that ain't how the Spirit works, because every place, there's some place that requires that. Every house don't require that. Because some people, you have to be hard with. That's the only way they hear. Other people, you have to be soft and compassionate. That's why you got to study Christ, the ultimate evangelist. Don't just study his miracles and all these other things that he was doing. Those things are wonderful and fine, but those are elementary things. We haven't gotten past the elementary things of God. And that's the reason why we can't go into new territory. He can't send us nowhere. Send me out. I don't care where it's at. I don't care where it's at. I sold out to it a long time ago. So my heart has always been connecting. And my heart, especially coming into this, I was die hard in the church. Now that I come into this, you think I'm finna give him any less? Do you think I'm just finna sit around while everybody's talking about everybody and not going to do something about it? I was wilding out there in the world. You think I'm finna come here and give him less? Y'all must be crazy. And I don't care who don't like it. Because here's the thing. I got to stand before him. When he said, I gave you an assignment, I'm not going to be like the brother that's focusing on the hecklers in the crowd. Focus on what your assignment is. Do your scouting report. Get your intel and go wherever I send you. And I guarantee you, because I'm sending you, I'm going to be with you. The same way he told Joshua. The same way I was with Moses, so shall I be with you. Wherever you go, I'm going to make sure that you know that I'm with you. And whenever you leave, people won't be the same when you leave. Because I'm the one sending you, and it's my Spirit that is going to engulf the place. So I'm going to send you to new territories. And as he told Jeremiah, be not afraid of their faces. Be not afraid of their faces. I've given you an assurity that I'm with you. Some of you, the Most High wants to send you in a new territory, but you haven't even accepted. You haven't even accepted the fact that your starting point is at home. Let me tell y'all something. You're trying to act as though you the greatest thing since sliced bread to everybody on the internet. But at home, you're nobody. You haven't even figured out and mastered the beginning stages of where ministry first starts, at home. And oftentimes the reason why most of us have a hard time of reaching those in our own houses is not because they don't want to see the truth. It's that they've seen so many level of inconsistencies in you to where now you have to prove to them your consistency. And maybe if you are consistent at home, then the Spirit will reveal to them that you're for real. It ain't the devil. It ain't nobody but you and your inconsistency. You done took them through everything. You ain't been consistent on a job. You haven't been consistent in your marriage. You haven't been consistent on paying bills. I'm talking about the practical things. But you're trying to get them to walk with you in the spiritual things. And these are the issues that lie ahead. And these are the issues that lie at our front doors. We can't expect doors to open for us in going into new territories if yet we haven't even been consistent on the path that he's laid out for us as a beginner stage. It's just like, let me give you another practical understanding. It's like many of us who play Madden. We play Madden, we play video games, we do all that. We play Madden, all these things. We'll just use Madden. You have to master rookie before you try to play all Madden. Everybody, when they buy the new game, first thing they want to run to is Madden. Want to run straight to all Madden, and you get your behind slaughtered. Because you haven't even learned the game speed. You haven't even learned the different attributes of the players on that level. And yet, you're trying to play all Madden, and you should be on rookie. And you want to challenge everybody else on the let's play. I challenge you to this. I'm telling you, I do this I'm telling you, and we all do that. Everybody want to challenge somebody to test their skill level, and you haven't even challenged the rookie level yet. Let's read Romans 15, verse number 20. Yea, so have I strived to preach the gospel. Look what he says. I've strived to preach the gospel, not where Christ was named, lest I should build upon another man's foundation. That's the problem. I can't look and see what another man is doing, and he's laid that foundation, and try to ride off of his foundation. The harvest is plentiful. It's plentiful. Here's the reason why I tell brothers that are mores and teachers in B.O.O.M and have their own congregations. This right here is the reason why I tell them. I don't tell people what to preach and teach. We have our doctrinal beliefs laid out. You build your own foundation. You teach your people in your congregation. You teach them what the Spirit gives you to teach. I'm not giving you no lesson plan for the whole year that you got to teach every Shabbat. No, you do that. You let the Spirit of the Most High use you to teach those people. Why? Because you're in Rome. Your Rome is a different situation than another brother that's in Corinth. So I can't give you a layout for all the teachers in B.O.O.M, all the mores, and say, hey, this is what you need to teach on. This is what when all of them got something different going on within their area. And this is what Paul's saying. I'm not going to build upon another man. I'm going to find where Christ is not being preached fully. I'm going to find my own area and lay out my own path and preach the gospel in that area. Why? Because there's plenty enough people out here that need to hear the gospel than to be building off of somebody else's. We all have our territories. Look at what it says. Romans 15 and verse number 20. Shalom, brother minister church. Church. Not so where Christ was named, lest I should build upon another man's foundation. Verse 21. But as it is written, to whom he was not spoken of, they shall see, and they that have not heard shall understand. There's a whole lot of people out here that ain't heard. They've heard a gospel, but they ain't heard the gospel. Henceforth, the reason why Hamashiach said in Matthew 24, he says, and this gospel. Why? Because there's many gospels on the scene. But he said, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached. And then the end shall come. This gospel, not a gospel, not some gospel, but this gospel, not of majors, not of anybody else, but of the kingdom, in which we all should be preaching. Verse number 21, Romans 15. They shall see, and they that have not heard shall understand. Look at this verse number 22. For which cause also I have been much hindered from coming to you. See that? Paul, they're writing Paul a letter. Paul wants to get to them. Paul is being hindered many different ways. In one aspect, Paul is being hindered because folks just on his trail blocking him. He got to deal with these Judaizers, these Pharisees running around here. He got to deal with them. He got other ministries, other congregations he got to go visit. But not on that, people just trying to block him on the border. He getting thrown in jail, all kind of stuff that's hindering him. But his desire in his heart as a leader, which henceforth people want to say, well, I don't need no leader. I don't need no leader. I'm here for the Holy Spirit is my guide. I ain't got to be under nobody. These folks send a letter from Paul. Why they send letters to Paul? Because Paul is the leader over that congregation, even though there's an elder or somebody there that is teaching there, because Paul can't be there because he's on the road going everywhere preaching these gospels in new territories. But yet the person who's the authority in this situation, the person that they respect his wisdom, and the person who went to this city and established this, they are seeking counsel from him, writing him a letter. The Corinthian church wrote him a letter and said, hey, what do we do? There's a man in the church sleeping with his mother. And Paul like, I'm not coming to Corinth to deal with that. Y'all know what the law say. Y'all got common sense enough to know that shouldn't even be something y'all sending me a letter on asking wisdom about. Throw that joker out if you don't want to repent. All of the letters that we have that Paul has written were letters written to him that he got to deal with issues of different things in these different cities in which he visited, in which he established, and he put somebody over them because he himself couldn't be over all of them. Verse number 23 as we close. But now having no more place in these parts, and having a great desire these many years to come unto you. He said, I have a great desire these many years that I haven't been there. I haven't been to Rome in a while, but my desire, I haven't been there in Rome in years. Since the last time I was there, establishing the congregation in Rome, though I left you there, elder who's writing to me, though I left you there, it's been my desire that I come to Rome. But there's so many things going on that I can't get there. Some of y'all are holding grudges against your leader because you feel like he ain't talking to you on the phone enough. You feel like he ain't calling enough. You feel like he not spending time with you enough. Especially if you have a leader that you know is out here and doing the work of the kingdom. It's not that he doesn't have a desire to spend time with you. It's not that he doesn't have a desire to answer your phone. It's not that he doesn't have a desire to deal with the things that you have going on. In which, that's why there's leadership. To where if you can't get to your main, to the main moray, the overseer, there should be other elders that you should be able to talk to. Henceforth, the reason why Jethro, the wisdom came to Jethro to tell Moses to get 70 elders to deal with issues that you can't deal with. You can't deal with all these. You can't deal with all these issues with all these people. There's so many people have so many issues. You need to appoint elders. That way they handle certain things, and one of these main serious things that the elders can't handle. Then you come together as a council and you make a judgment on that. It is definitely a desire that a leader be all places at one time. But unfortunately, that's not what, it doesn't work like that. We're limited. And we can't hear every problem, especially when it's you got a whole lot of people. And all these congregations. So the leaders would write Paul, and Paul would respond back like, listen, okay, this is what's going on. This is what you need to handle. This is how you need to do this. This is why even in his letters, he would say, hey, listen, okay, this going on, these women acting like this. They writing the letter to Paul. Paul, these women are out of control. They got this stuff going on in church. He said, listen, man, tell those women in that congregation, listen, in that congregation, that they need to do this. He wasn't talking to Ephesus. He wasn't talking to Corinthians. He wasn't talking to Rome. He wasn't talking to Galatia. He wasn't talking to all of them at one time. But this particular congregation that's in Ephesus, the women are out of control. This is the way I do it. And this is the way I'm telling you to handle this. Use wisdom in this area to handle this. He didn't write that letter to every congregation. And this is where we misinterpret this. Into thinking he's talking to all the congregations. No, he's talking to this particular one because they all wrote to him one-on-one about different issues. They all didn't have the same issue going on. And so whatever he told Rome, he didn't tell Corinth. Whatever he told Corinth, he didn't tell Galatia or Ephesus. That's why when you read the letter in Hebrews, it's dealing with a specific issue that was being dealt with at a specific time and a specific people and their specific issue. You got folk running around here telling them, oh, you need to sacrifice animals for the remissions of sin. Now, Paul writing a letter, or this letter, or many scholars say it is Paul. Some say it's Apollos, whoever. Okay, let's just say whoever. Okay, we know that this letter was written in Hebrews about why we don't sacrifice animals. Why? Because somebody was running around telling folk that they need to sacrifice animals for the remissions of sin. And so Paul got to write a full-page letter and information about why, or whoever it was, Apollos, some say it's Apollos, some say it's Paul, whoever. They had to write a full dissertation of why you don't sacrifice animals anymore. And you don't find that pretty much nowhere else in these letters. Specifically, it's linked specifically to Hebrews. You don't find him going in depth about animal sacrifice in these other letters. Why? Because when you have wisdom, you deal with it on a situation to situation basis. And so in order for us to walk in new territories and for the Father to send us to new territories, we first have to get an understanding that we must preach the gospel in full, law and spirit, and that we diagnose situations properly and not take every situation and try to apply it to every situation or every diagnosis or every medication and apply it to every situation. It doesn't work that way. So I pray all of you are blessed. And my desire is that all of us come into our calling and what we're assigned to do and focus on that. And don't focus on the hecklers in the crowd and neither focus on other people and their assignments. I love y'all with the love of Christ, man. Shalom.